Welcome to Rules of Villainy, where 3 new trading card game players quest and challenge their way to the competitive top tables and discuss their opinions on Disney's Lorcana. This is episode 15. This week we'll be discussing the news of Lorcana Constituents Corner, where we answer your questions, discuss Shimmering Skies Set Championship, and as always, our Villain of the Week. I'm Bill and Vince, joined by my 2 co-hosts, Villain Andy and the Mayor of Lorcana, Brad. How we doing tonight, gentlemen?
I'm upset.
What's
I'm a
wrong?
Oh no. Why
bubble boy. Bubble boy this weekend
man.
at the set championships at Grapes. Tried to take Blurple to the top cut to show Andy that Blurple can do it.
And where'd you place?
Ninth.
I don't
Ninth.
know.
It's better than me.
Gonna
You
tell
didn't
you.
play.
Well, that's still better than me. It's factually true then. I'm just saying.
Ah, I don't look at it that way.
It was really good. You did really
I had
good.
one. Yeah, thank you. I had one total loss to an Emerald Steel, which will be the topic of the show probably. But other than that, it felt good. I got the draws I needed. Had some really good games, but couldn't close it out.
What would give you the idea that Emerald Steel would be something we would discuss at all today? I have no.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe it's.
I mean,
everywhere.
Nobody should talk about that deck. Let's just.
It's just.
I mean, in
It's
fact,
crazy to.
breaking news: Ravensburger has banned Emerald from the game.
Oh.
So no need to talk
check your
about it.
source on that, Vince. You have to check your source on that one.
No. We have a pretty packed show tonight, and just before we get into Unworld news, in a really kind of serious note, I just have a nice little PSA. Since we have a platform, I feel like it's always important. Is that, if you live in the United States, you may realize we have an election coming up. You should support whoever you want. We've all got our own opinions, but please make sure you're registered to vote. And please, vote. A lot of places are starting to vote early. So please make sure your voice is heard. And we support that. And with
I found out you
Yeah.
can check online if you're registered to vote.
You can. And in fact, we will have
error.
a link in the show notes below on where you can check to see if you're registered to vote.
Yeah, mine said error. So I have to call somebody and get that fixed. But I'm glad I found it before that day that Vince will remind me, I'm sure. Please remind me.
I will, of course, make sure to do so. But with that, I'm going to kick it over to you, Andy, for an announcement that we have.
Yeah. If you guys watch the show, or hopefully you watched our stream, big thank you to everyone who did on that. You will have seen our new logo, and we want to reveal her name, Ruby, the Amethyst Dragon.
Yeah.
Nice little play on some of our favorite decks, and even if it isn't your favorite deck, it is an iconic deck that will forever live in Lorcana history.
If it's not your favorite deck, this isn't the podcast for you.
Well, then I guess I gotta go. I'm sorry, guys.
Sorry. Bye. Sorry.
Now hiring
Yeah.
new mayor.
We have a new vacancy for podcast host.
Is there a vice mayor? Who's the vice mayor?
I don't know. I'll take them with me too, whoever that is. Ruby. I'm taking Ruby. But no, we got some great feedback on her when we revealed her on the socials last week. She hit it off. I mean, I accidentally shared it on my personal Facebook through, I think Instagram automatically did it. And 50 or so people liked it, who I'm pretty certain know nothing about Lorcana, but just is a testament to the work, of how cute she is and the work that we put into in getting her perfect for us. And I'm really proud of it. I'm so happy to have her here.
Yeah, definitely. You'll be seeing more of her, I believe, in both the digital and maybe the physical form. There are some of our listeners who we do get the opportunity to see in real life, not just through this screen here.
If you sub to our Patreon,
we might as well just start one of those. Gosh,
find our imaginary Patreon. We'll mail it to you. But for now, if you see us, we'll be at Seattle, the DLCs. So hit us up. We'll have some goodies for you.
It's all like the longest hidden running joke that we don't. We talk about having a Patreon, but we don't. But no, yes, we're very excited. I'm excited. We did. Andy he was the one who came up with the name for this. So great naming. And we put it to a vote. We had a few different names that we put to our team, our ever expanding Rules of Villainy family team, and this is the name that was selected. So thank you to all of our team members as well for having their voices input there.
I will say my initial idea of calling, before we knew where we were going with it, I wanted to call her Rover, because ROV for Rules of Villainy, and this is a million times better. I was married to that, and I wasn't married to, but I was very sold. Like, that's a good name, but I'm glad you guys talked me out of it. At least
Rover.
me out of the
Roll over,
Rover. Now she's just a dog.
Just to be clear, we nearly named it Rover. Okay, like we were ready last week to doing it, and I was like, "No, I veto it."
Yeah, no, I don't think you guys were ever on board.
I used my executive authority as a villain Vince of the Rules of Villainy podcast.
I think you guys. I think it's perfect. She's great. Ruby, the Amethyst Dragon. We're gonna have the lore is being written now on everything.
To be fair, though, I didn't think it was a bad name until I don't know which one of you or somebody said that there is a dog walking app called Rover, and I was like, no, and immediately no. I was like, at that point, no.
Well, I realized that like a while back, with the advent, the inventation of the internet here, that when I like think something is like common knowledge, I just like search it real quick. And so I immediately thought Rover was like the most common dog name. I'm like, I've heard of that a million times. And I searched it, and sure enough, first result is dog walking. And I was like, vindication.
Nope. Out of here.
Yeah.
Well, next up, Brad, Mr. Mayor, you've got a surprise for the viewers.
I do. It was supposed to be a surprise for you guys too, but you guys kind of got the, backstage notification there. But a viewer, one of our locals, Ryan, who you might have heard us answer his question last week, the McRib, if you probably remember that name. Ryan from our locals, he provided us a pack from France to open on stream. I maybe mistakenly told him that that's where Super Pippo lies, but that's within the Italian packs. But I did look up the French Super Goof, and we could get a Super Dingo, which is kind of exciting. But it's no Super Peepo, so I was going to open a quick pack for you guys real quick. And sorry for the audio listeners. We will read the cards to the best. We'll recognize the cards, but I can't read French. So, yeah.
I took like 5 years of French.
I should probably show the pack.
And also,
I don't have great
Ryan. Ryan is a longtime friend of just our group here. He donated prizing to our last Second Chance event. I believe he helped donate some of the packs that we used for that. So,
all right, you want to read them off for me?
We got Benja, we got Louisa,
Madrigal,
Jacques. Oh, see, that one's in French. It says Jacques. We got Chef Transformé.
Looks like Stitch.
Stitch. Yep. Sorry, lighting's bad. Broom.
Whoa!
It is a broom, but it's
Ballet Magique.
Yeah,
that's probably a Pat. Wait, that's Pete. Pete's Pat. It's Pat.
Prince Eric.
Prince Eric.
All right. Iduna,
yeah.
Whoa! All right. This one's
yeah,
advanced.
Second chart to the right? But I don't know how to read it.
But yeah, it's like Le Dune de Droit.
Le Grotte Dariel.
And
Royal Mob
Song? With me?
I think it's Mob Song.
Avec moi. It's Tout avec moi. Who's with me?
Tout avec moi.
Oh, that's Mob Song?
That's Mob Song, yep.
But I think that says, like, you're
Tout
with
avec
me.
moi.
Maybe. Yeah, well, I mean, so you just got to understand when they translate these to other languages.
Isn't there a song called Who's With Me?
They don't direct.
There's a card that says that. It might be from that song.
There's a card. That's what I meant. There's a card called Who's With Me.
But that's from the next
interesting
set. That's
that they've
guys. Yeah.
But the translation
but it's because the song is different in the movie. It's not the same. Because some of them don't make sense.
Right.
Also like a lot of the songs too have very English kind of idioms, if you will, that don't translate very well to other languages.
Sure.
Like
or
maybe
sound
goofy?
very well either, you know.
Like the idea of the word goofy and being goofy.
A big thank you to Ryan for allowing us to open. That is really cool to actually see a foreign language pack over here. I've never gotten one, but yeah, thank you so much.
It's cool. That's
and
very,
for all
very
of
cool.
our European viewers, feel free to hit us up. We'll give you our PO box, and you can send us any packs in any languages other than English, and we would gladly open them on stream for you.
Yeah.
And we are
Or-
particularly looking for Super Peepo.
Or yeah, just send us a Super Peepo.
And to be clear, while I would love an enchanted Super Peepo, just a plain old
Any
Super Peepo.
Super Peepo.
Yeah.
I will
is
say
going on my
though,
wall.
I will stand. The card I really want in foreign language is Spellbook.
It's the card you want in every language. Like you just love Spellbook.
I do love the Spellbook. I do.
I've been
I do like Super Peepo.
Yeah, I've been contemplating for a while if I want to try to get a foil Scar from set 2 from every language. It's going to be a journey to do that, but
Is that the red one?
yeah, the red one, the Rush Scar.
I got one for you, I think.
You got a foreign language one?
Oh, foreign language. I thought you said a foil one.
No, I have a foil one. I have a
Oh,
foil
okay.
one from
Oh, you-
here. I'm
Okay.
going to take it to
Well,
Seattle too and hope that Nicholas Cole is there to sign it, but we'll see.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I got those German packs from Gen Con.
Yeah. Will Germany even be in the EU by the time you open those, Vince? We'll all be 6 feet under. Those packs will be in a museum somewhere.
Yep, but they'll be preserved in mint
Unopened.
condition.
There's
Unopened.
Anyway,
all right. So as Andy alluded to, we did a stream on Sunday at Grape's Games here for the Shimmering Sky Set Championship, and we wanted to thank you for all your eyeballs and ear holes in watching and listening to that. And we had a lot of fun doing it. It was a lot of fun. Very tiring though.
yeah, it was a journey, a long day. But a lot of content there. I went through and timestamped everything yesterday, and from the main games to the 2-pack battles to the just you guys in the back talking, about things, and it looked really good, really good. I'm really proud of you guys.
Yeah, we're gonna continue improving every time, and I think the guest casting of Kirsten and Kristen went fairly well. So, and as Vince said, it's very tiring. So I think we're going to try and open up some of our casting team and get some more people in there for next time. So
one of the first things Vince told me when he took a break there for Kristen and Kirsten to do that quarterfinal match was that I now understand why the DLCs have multiple casters and take breaks, because sitting back there all day doing game after game is, I mean, I just did one, but I had already just played, 6 rounds. So I was already tired as it is. I can't imagine having to stay focused and cast every single game that comes through. So, but you guys persevered.
I'd say one of the things is like behind the scenes is like, it was just a production team of 2. It was Andy and me doing everything. Andy had it set up and trying to make sure that we told the players how to put things on the table so that we could see it and so the viewers could see it. Making sure that we would keep track of the game while also tracking lore and who had won and what round we're in and names and stuff. And we had done a lot of preparation, or really Andy had done a lot of preparation on the back end and getting some of that stuff, so it was easier for us. It still was challenging to be like, oh, did we miss this? Or we started, the great example is we started the stream and we were muted for
for a while. Yeah.
5 minutes. And so we had done this whole intro and we were in it and chatting. And then I don't know, probably 4 hours in, maybe even 5 hours in, we find out that Andy, I had brought the wrong level, so it was only coming out of the
It's
left.
only coming out the left ear.
Yeah.
So yes, lessons learned, but I feel like we're getting a little bit better every time.
Yeah, it was great. And some of the banter, I commented on it privately to you guys, but during the second 2-pack battles with Tabitha and Jimmy, as soon as Vanellope came out as Candy Lady and Andy went on a rant about Wreck-It Ralph, I'm like, this is gold. You guys, taking a break from the commentary of the game and just bantering about Disney was so much fun to listen to. You guys,
to be fair, part of that though is because like Andy and I were like, we know none of
think about these cards.
We are woefully unprepared.
Yeah.
I need a remote zoom on my camera so that like when they play the card, I can just zoom in and read what the card is. Oh, okay, yeah. Vince is like pulling up cards on his iPad, like trying to hold up the image to the iPad, like, I think that's it.
Well, because like it's like Candy Lady. I'm like, that's not Candy Lady. And I'm like looking up on the iPad what it is. So it's like, that's Vanellope von Schweetz and Andy and me. Like, yes, because you looked it up on your iPad.
And is she not Candy Lady? Come on.
So good. So good. I enjoyed the heck out of it.
But speaking of really fun banter, Andy, tell the listeners what they've got to look forward to after the DLC in Seattle.
Yeah, our next big production, the next big Rules of Villainy production, we're going to do a several-part series here, the Villain Showdown. We've got Villain Vince versus Villain Brad, the mayor. We showed it before. We got some of the Ursula, the playmat, and the card. We're going to have round 1 of that coming probably very shortly after the DLC here. We thought we could maybe fit it in beforehand, but as you can probably see from the mess behind me, I'm woefully unprepared for these set championships, and as a result, Seattle. So been spending a lot of time trying to work on getting that gold Mickey for everyone. Yep. So, but yeah, check it out. Make sure you smash that like button, ring that bell. I think that's the only one that actually
for the mayor. Be on my side.
Yeah, I was gonna say, put down there, Team Vince, Team Villain Vince. Comment below. Got to make sure. Got to get those Team Villain Vince.
Maybe we can set it up so that people can join a team, and if whatever team wins, maybe we can try and get some sort of prize for someone on that team. If your team mayor. And the mayor wins, we'll pick one of those team mayor players and get a prize for him or something. We'll see what we can come up with.
We've got some stickers incoming.
Yeah, we'll make it worth your while to have an allegiance to one of these people.
So, what are you gonna do, Vince? What are you gonna do when the mayor mania goes wild on you?
Did you go like all like WWF over here?
What you gonna do? Hulk Hogan.
What you're gonna like break a
steel chair, a table,
steel chair, rip your shirt off on stage?
Do you know any wrestling references? I feel
like
let's go.
In the UFC, I feel like when Brad and Vince like get their way in and then they have to like stand really close, Brad's the one that's like, and Vince is the one that just like gives him a quick kiss and like tries to neutralize the situation. That's all. Like one of them's always like nice and like tries to hug him or whatever. I feel like Brad's over here yelling and Vince is like,
ripping
"What are you
open.
doing, mate?
Let's go. Let's go.
You can't intimidate me. Your cards are jank. Like it's fine."
What are you gonna do? Blurple me to death over here?
Maybe. Maybe.
But anyway, I'm saying just vote down below Team Villain Vince. And with that, we're gonna cut right to Constituents Corner with the mayor, and we've got quite a few questions in the inbox, Mr. Mayor.
Shout out to everybody who answered my call today on Twitter. We're going to start with Megan. Actually, one of our teammates, Megan, asked first. So we're going to start with her. Prince John seems to be a strong contender for the second major errata of this game. Questions. Do you think Prince John should be errata to nerf the current Emerald Steel meta? Should we stop there, or do you want me to ask both?
No,
I think it's an
both.
or kind of thing, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Or
or.
do you think there is any well, let me start that over. Do you think there is any sort of more broad sweeping change RB should make to prevent the next broken deck, such as removing ward or discard?
RB being Ravensburger for those two.
Ravensburger, correct.
Yeah, don't.
Apologies.
No.
I should have pre-read the question.
Yeah, all good. So do I think Prince John should be errata? And the answer there is
No.
Yes.
no.
No.
I think all of Emerald should be banned. Is that not considered an errata on Prince John?
I mean, it was already. Did you not hear the breaking news already?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. So we're past this. Next question.
No. So I mean, partly is like a little bit about this last week, but we didn't. We used to every time we got a villain, we would talk about how we would like change the card, and we didn't quite get into that. Like we kind of steered away from that. Maybe we should start doing that again. But one of the things we did talk about, and I think this answers the other question, is do I think Ravensburger should think more about how they're handling ward or discard? I don't think they should remove those mechanics. No. I don't love discard, but I'm fine with it being a mechanic in the card game. I'm fine with ward being a mechanic in the card game. I think the biggest issue with ward is the getting an effect without having any playability of the card. So, let me first go back and just say real quick, the reason why I don't think Prince John should be errata is right now, at least, is because we just went through the whole Bucky errata, and I'm a little nervous that Ravensburger will go a little too crazy with the errata on Prince John. and I don't, because like my errata on that card, if I were to do an errata, would just be that you only get the effect if you exert it. Yeah,
or
that's the only thing. I would just say exert it. You exert that. You have to exert the card in order to get that effect off of it. And that would be it. And I think that's how ward should be going forward. I think in order, the characters that have ward, fine, but in order to get the effect of the card, you should have to put that card at some sort of risk.
Yeah. So do you think ward in general should be nerfed to basically say while this character is exerted, they can't be chosen by opponents? I guess would be the wording.
I mean that's how it sounds, right? They don't get the ward or the
right. So are you basically saying that rather than just errata Prince John, because as Megan alludes to in the second question, perhaps ward is overall the problem.
Yeah.
Perhaps ward is overall the problem. Are you saying that you sort of support this Ravensburger altering, maybe just errata-ing ward, maybe saying that going forward, ward reads when this character cannot be chosen while exerted, this character cannot be chosen by an opponent?
No. I am saying that I think ward is fine as it functions. I think the problem is Ravensburger needs to add to every effect that a card has on ward that this effect only is an effect when this character is exerted.
So we need errata. Okay, so it's only right, which I tend to agree with, that really the only problematic cards, because you would be nerfing cards that don't need nerfing, like that random Donald that gets played in Blurple, where he's like riding on the little
strutting his stuff.
Yeah, sure. Isn't it like a little mechanical set of legs or something he's got?
Maybe. I don't have it with me right now.
But he, that card is just a 4/3 with ward. So really, it just wouldn't have it wouldn't have ward. It wouldn't do anything while it's not exerted, and it has no effect. So you're saying we need to go back and change every card that has some sort of effect and also has ward, and make sure that it has to be exerted. Which, to be fair, is not what they did to Bucky. Although they did a lot to Bucky.
They took him out back
did
everything they could to Bucky. Yeah, I don't think
that.
But yeah, my thing is like, because the issue is, which we'll get into, I think later on as we talk about Emerald Steel, is it's hard to remove that card, and that is a key component that makes Emerald Steel, difficult. And there's no incentive for the player to exert that card. In the same way that there's no incentive for them to exert Bucky
when they had Bucky, right?
And here's my thing: is the reason why I say this is because I actually think there are more characters in Lorcana that could benefit for things like Ward.
Oh, every character, but yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, of course, every character would. But I'm just saying, like, what comes to my mind, like, key point is the Mufasa, like, was it the Prince of Pride Rock or whatever? If that card
I think you said this before. You're just trying to make that card insanely good.
Yeah.
The fact that it needs to survive one turn and doesn't have Ward, which would guarantee that it survives one turn, is its singular, weakness essentially.
Right, which is why we see it. If we see it at all in any deck,
Blurple.
It's a one-of card.
No, Blurple runs 2 of them.
You run 2 of them.
Yeah,
and it's honestly a real pain in the butt to remove for anything that isn't running
red blue ice blocker. Yeah. So red blue. Yeah, it's
a 4/9 though, right?
Yeah, so ice block comes down and Medusa takes it out immediately. It's happened.
Tremaine,
so yeah, or Tremaine, but most of the time
it's going to be insulated by something else. Yeah.
I think what we're talking, a lot of this discussion, because we had Prince John as a villain of the week last week. One of the things I told Ron tonight while we were playtesting, preparing for Seattle and further sets, was that I wanted to touch on what you said, Vince, that I don't think discard needs to go away. I think it's a fine mechanic. I think that Ward is a fine mechanic. It's just the discard has gotten so aggressively more aggressively more aggressive since it started in set 2, because I used to play Emerald Steel going into set 2 where the line was Captain Hook, then you play the 2-drop Flynn, then you play Prince John, and you sing Sudden Chill, and you get 1 or 2 off of Prince John before somebody comes and just takes care of your board because you're playing Emerald in set 2. But now it's just there's so much since then, 3 more sets that have added to that dynamic that make it so, like, I played Ron tonight twice. I played his Emerald Steel deck against his red blue, and in the second game I had him top decking in 3 turns, and it was just not fun for either of us to do it. The first game I bricked hard. Like, the way to beat this deck is hope that they brick. And then the second game I had everything I possibly needed, 3 sudden chills in 3 turns, and it's over. He has nothing to do but top deck, and it's just not fun. I don't think an errata should come again so quickly, but he's, like Megan said, he's easily a contender like Bucky. I don't think we need to resort straight to errata again, but it's
you know tough. What it's honestly the more we talk about this, the more I'm actually I take back what I said earlier. I do think we should errata Prince John
and just make him exert to get the effect.
Yeah, just make him.
I think that would be a fine errata. They're actually going to make him cost 2 more and be double uninkable, and have him half a lore. But I think the other thing though that we haven't really touched on is sort of what is in that second question there: ways to prevent this from being a broken deck. And I think we've touched on this in other episodes of the podcast. It is that removal is insanely expensive in Lorcana, essentially. And so I want to sort of pose the question, Vince's idea makes sense, because if we need to errata Prince John, then we are also going to need to do what Vince says, and it's just going to follow the trail, right? When one uninteractable card has Ward and gets a beneficial effect, we need to errata it because it gets abused. And so we're just going to end up doing every single one of them. So that's one option, is errata cards as they become abused, essentially. The other option, I think, is to make just cheaper removal in the way that it already exists now. If Brawl costs 1, I mean, that's a little extreme perhaps, but if there were other options besides Brawl, a couple of these other ones, or the last option, which I think she also mentions here, is sort of, a way around Ward? Do we need a new mechanic entirely that helps us sort of get around?
I like
Ward?
to think
which
that's
of those
coming.
3 ideas do you think if you were Ravensburger you'd want to go down?
The last one.
I would go down the first one, which
You
is
would
the
just
errata.
them
Really?
infinitely until you run out of until as they get abused.
Well, here's the thing.
I don't like to set
Even
the
though
precedent.
you admitted originally that you didn't want another errata because it was too close to the last errata, and we haven't even gotten our new Buckies yet.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. What makes me change my mind on that, and it was kind of just hearing Brad talk about it as a little bit, is like to remember that the objective of this is to ultimately have fun and have a healthy competitive environment. And I don't think card games, like no other, I mean, other card games errata cards all the time. It's not like it's an unusual thing that occurs. And so we really haven't experienced that in Lorcana, so it's easy to say. And really, I was speaking maybe a little bit out of fear that it might get over errata. Like, I think they went too far with Bucky.
Yeah.
And so I think I'm in the camp of if cards get oppressive, just errata them. The reason part 2, I'm a little conflicted about making removal cheaper. I kind of agree in some respects, but I do worry about, I think, the knock-on effects of that, because I think conceptually that can be like hard to think about. Like, okay, that makes some sense. I do agree that it's expensive. I don't know. I struggle to find an area where it's like, I'd feel like confident in saying like, this is what I would want them to be, because I worry about.
It just needs to move closer to a middle, right?
Worry about that. The last option, which I've long talked about, which is having this way to like pierce Ward or some sort of like,
I like that term.
Disable Ward or whatever and stuff.
Yep.
I've thought a lot about. And I like
design, in my opinion.
I don't know. The problem I think I get into with that a little bit, and I think Andy, you have actually convinced me of this, is that it makes the game on a ruling basis significantly more complicated unnecessarily, because Ward basically says, this character can't be challenged, and then you would have a card that says Ward, like card. What would you like? That card is like,
right. How would you do the wording?
Exist? Like, how would you do that? And like, you
would just say opponents' characters would lose Ward.
Wouldn't be. I mean, I'm not saying it's not feasible. I'm just saying, like, from the perspective of this being a young TCG and having a young player base that are new to TCGs, that feels
and a young company. Not a young company, but a company new to the market doing it too, right? Like,
that's why, like, I like that idea in general, but I think the implementation is probably messier than just errataing a card.
I am personally not in favor of erratas at all. I think with the ability of them, with the fact that Lorcana just has so many of the exact same character with these subnames, I really don't see any reason why they didn't just ban Bucky and then add Bucky to a future set with the new text and just call it another Bucky. It's just another Bucky, right? Do the same thing with Prince John. So rather than creating all these weird scenarios because I've talked to other players, who've played in other TCGs, and they say that some of these other TCGs have 5, 6, 7 erratas on the same card. So there's, so many different versions. They've literally seen people show up at tournaments with a version of a card that they didn't realize was the tournament legal version of that card. And like, that sounds really miserable to try and navigate from a player standpoint. And so I think, since it's not a digital trading card game, rather than errataing cards one after another so that we have to continually check our phone, instead just give them the axe, banish them, ban them for good, and then just make a new one, right? Like, hire the same artist, tell them to like add a funny little twist, make it kind of the same but like facing the other way or something, and it's an homage, and it's clearly just a new version of that card.
The turnaround on those is clearly
I
lengthy,
think that is
right?
I think that's the least optimal version, because you're asking folks to because that card no longer legal for play.
Yep.
And
It's already no longer legal.
And as a result, you then now like our folks are wasting money, on that. Well, errata cards you can play still because they're still the card. Just the text has changed on the card.
And I think that's incredibly confusing as well, right? Like
Sure,
imagine you went and played old like, Bucky in a tournament today. Sure. So many people don't know what I don't know what the new text is, right? It'd be so annoying.
It's helpful that they errata it so much that nobody's gonna play.
Nobody's gonna play
that particular Bucky. Here's the thing. I think
if a
card was going to be errata and playable, most players would know what it does. For the most part, I think
just don't like that added complexity. Just like you don't like the added complexity to the rules. I think we're talking about pennies here for new cards. Make it an extra marketing card, right? In 2 sets from now, the new Bucky. We still don't have our errata Buckies. Are we ever going to get a physical version of the errata Bucky? Right. And so
for sure. Just
throw it in a marketing card in there, and hooray! Everyone gets the new Prince John Bucky, whatever it is. But it is interesting that you want to go down the route of just sort of continually addressing each card as it comes up.
No. So I want to actually be very clear on what I'm saying a little bit. Is that I think we should errata Prince John, and my answer is in the future when Ravensburger is printing a warded character with an effect, that effect should always only be allowed to be used when exerted. So I'm not saying that
I'm just talking about the current cards that are out now, right? Like if we errated Prince John today, and then tomorrow Zan showed up with another card we all forgot about that has ward, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, fair critique. Right. I'm just saying I think the function of ward and how it's implemented by Ravensburger should be rethought.
Going forward, don't make that mistake of having uninteractable abilities on a warded character. I agree with that. That makes sense.
Ultimately, like that's the gist, right? Is like I want to play the game and I want to be able to interact with the game. And when you have a character that I cannot interact with, that makes the game
very
significantly
limited scope of interaction,
more, less fun, right?
Absolutely.
And stuff, and we'll talk about it, I think, when we get to Emerald. What's the next question, Brad?
Yeah, I was going to say, let's move on to Chappie's question. Chappie from Sketching Out Lorcana asked, who is a Disney villain, whether they have one now or not, that you want to see a super sick enchanted card for? Is there a specific artist you want to tackle this card? Is there a Disney villain card that exists that you think deserved an enchanted and should get a future one? Do I need to do a 3 count? 1, 2, 3. Maleficent
Dragon, yeah.
Maybe we didn't say that. I knew that we were.
That was like the worst. We should have planned that. I can, and the artist Luis Huerta.
Yeah,
fantastic. I was going to say
him last week.
Same artist that
2 weeks ago.
They should definitely have an opportunity to make it enchanted. I think episode 5 was when Vince was away at Vince Con.
Vince Con. One day.
reprise to the stream. But yeah, we had Kirsten on here. That's her favorite card in the game. And we all just sort of were wondering to ourselves, why was that not an enchanted? And so hopefully one day it becomes one.
We talk about how when you one of our friends, Justin Ward, who's on the podcast, has a max rarity deck for Ruby Sapphire. And the only 2 enchanteds in that deck are Maui and the Sisu.
Oh, and King Candy.
He dropped
out. He didn't have
it on the stream, but we were very. It's very unimpressive, the max rarity of Ruby Sapphire currently, and yet there are so many cards I think that would just kill as an enchanted. Tamatoa.
For sure.
It would be so shiny. Come on.
My runner-up, of course, is no surprise to anyone, would be Scar from set 2. I'm happy with the one that we got from this one, but when they announced that Scar, I was like, they got to do that enchanted eventually.
So if they made a playmat for any card, Brad, Scar.
I'm getting that one.
Scar.
For sure. Sleeve, Scar everything. Scar everything.
Brad's answer to all of these is Scar, and I think
it's always going to be.
How about this question then, Brad? What's your favorite Scar so far? Is it the set 2 one?
The set 2 one. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
What's the only playable
the-
one?
Well,
Every card's playable if you're brave enough.
is it your favorite because of the art, or
I do.
like,
I think it's really good.
actually
It looks,
playable?
no, it is. It's the rush scar that
Right,
sometimes.
that's what I meant. Like, is it because it's playable, or is it because you just like the card?
No, when they announced it, I thought it looked beautiful. I like just how the colors, the blue and the reds around it, and it looks really, really good, especially as a foil. And then when I tease myself by putting on a playmat on one of the websites, I'm like, God, that looks good. So I know as soon as I buy that custom playmat, though, that Ravensburger's gonna be like, you know what, that's gonna look like a good playmat. They're gonna officially create it, and then I'm gonna have to buy that one too. So part of me is waiting because now that they're diving back into past sets for their playmats, that I feel like he's a contender.
Just to be clear, Mr. Ravensburger, he is not getting a custom playmat. He is waiting for you to create custom playmats that he can then buy. Man, could you imagine that if you could just buy that? That's a $1 million deal for Ravensburger right there. They should just create a website where they allow you to pick a card, put it on a playmat, and buy it.
Yeah.
Yep. And then you give a little bit of the profits from it to the artist for each one sold.
Yeah.
Ooh, that would be fire.
So there you go. That idea is free. Now give us a card reveal.
Next one's gonna cost you, Ryan.
Do you guys have any other options?
Ryan, you got my phone number.
Ryan can come on our show for the next one. We'll give him the next one live on the podcast. So
we'll talk to him in Seattle.
Yeah. Next question.
Next question. This is from Brando, who is currently in his Baja Blast Sierra Mist era on Twitter, Lorcana Brando. What's your favorite single card right now? Doesn't have to be one you use the most, just a favorite for whatever reasons you have.
Vince, what's your favorite card?
Book.
Oh, okay.
Spellbook, yeah.
I'm glad we had a pause in there so everyone watching at home could all shout Spellbook at the top of their lungs right before Vid said it. It's like, Jeopardy. You get that like split second to answer before the players do. Yeah.
I like it. Leave me alone. Nice. Why are you so mean, villain?
Yeah.
It's not a bad card. It's cool.
Yeah. How about you, Andy?
What about you, Brad?
You want me to go?
Why don't you have to go last? We already know what yours is too. Come on.
I've chosen something else because I know you guys know I talk about Scar way too much. It's clear that's my favorite card. Right now with all the Blurple I'm playing, I really like that Elsa Spirit of Winter's back in play. She hasn't seen play since basically set 1, right? And it's fun. Even the fifth Spirit, the one that came out this set with the rush and the evasive, allowing that shift with the ramp from blue. Both of those Elsas I'm having so much fun playing in the Blurple decks. But I would choose the set 1 shift Floodborn, and she's got the Chase Enchanted that he's probably pulling out of his binder right now. Was that what you were doing? I wasn't paying attention.
No, because I was actually pulling, because there are actually other cards I really, really like. So for art wise, I really love this Arthur from set 2.
Megan has that on a playmat.
It
looks so good.
Her custom playmat is so beautiful.
Yeah.
And I saw that. I was like, I kind of want to get it, but
yeah.
I'm not going to.
Unofficial, but still beautiful.
I had to buy the foil.
Brave Little Taylor. Which, by the way, did you know was a short film in 1938?
I did. Thank you.
It was actually
that's a little inside joke. Brad. I'm sorry, guys. What about you, Andy?
Right.
What's your card?
My favorite card is Rockstar Stitch.
Rockstar Stitch, yes.
My enchanted promo that I won. This is my first TCG. It was my first big set of competitions, and just winning that was awesome. It's something I'll remember forever for sure. And I love the artwork on the card. Card is mildly playable. I do love me Stitch. He's one of my favorite characters, and so definitely my favorite card.
That was a Bodax, right? When you got your first one?
Yeah.
Because I remember you being, that's the most animated I think I've ever seen you. You're usually pretty chill, right? But you winning that was like, we did it,
it was awesome. It was at my hometown store too. That's where I play most of my time there. And so it was definitely good feeling.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially if they're bubbling too. Well, I made top cut in the last two, and then I lost in the first round of the top 8. That was devastating. So keep trying, guys. You can do it.
Back then, now with the rules, you'd have gotten 2 stitches there. You'd been
I got my card and headed home. Made it home in time for Jeopardy.
All right, next question.
We got one more best card question. This is from Brent Mukai on Twitter. He said, best card in the game based on artwork alone.
Rockstar Stitch. It was my first win, this is my first TCG playing in my hometown store, but seriously, that
it is beautiful. It is beautiful.
Oh, it's just when they announced that, it was such a cool card. I was like, I need this.
No, for me, by far, it was the Nicholas Cole Brave Little Tailor. Yeah. I'd been wanting this foil card for so long, and I finally broke down only just a few weeks ago and got it at a game store. Because it's one of the few foils from the first chapter that I didn't have. But I really love that card, and it was basically I kept trying to play it in a deck to make it work. And I mean, it's a good card.
Set 1, it was mildly playable.
It was playable in set 1. It was also
the D23 version, right? I got it over my shoulder here, but you got
I do have not the original. Not the,
right.
I have the
$4,000 one.
Yeah. No, I have the most recent one that came out in this past August,
which has the little extra, art embellishments on it too. I think that one looks really nice as well.
It does. What about you all,
Brad? Artwork. Set 2 Scar. Okay, next question.
Yeah, I'm trying not to say that because I do love that one. I think because I've been playing so much Amber with my Red Fossa, and I only have one of them. I'm going to say the Prize Wall Rapunzel by Grace Tran from all the DLCs. I think it's really good. I saw it on Justin's top 16 mat, and it just pops. It's really, really good. I know it's a little bit harder to get, and not part of like the base sets and alternate art. But when I read this question just now, again, like that was the card that popped in my head first, so I went with that one.
Pretty card,
very pretty. Imagine having the shiny one. Maybe a couple weeks, maybe we might.
Yeah, here it is.
Yeah, that's not beautiful. The shiny one, Vince. You said imagine having the shiny one. We all have that one, Vince. Some of us have like a whole play set of them. Okay, jeez.
Shout out to Ron.
I never said it was the shiny one. I said here is that card.
I know. But Brad said, "Oh, the shiny one is even better," and then
Vince goes, "Here it is."
Your non-shiny one, yeah.
People on this podcast know that I have not made it that far on any DLC. Okay, you both did better than me.
This time will be different.
We say, he didn't get top 16. He got beaten by a 16-year-old. That's what we meant.
Oh yeah. That did happen.
All right. What about you, Andy?
He picked Rockstar. Yeah.
It was the Rockstar Stitch.
Rockstar Stitch. Yeah. Next question.
This is from Illumiqueer Lids, who has been a very much an inspiration for my Mufasa decks and Blurple tweaks. She asked, with Pixar on the horizon for Lorcana, what underrated Pixar character, not main characters, do you want to see? I'll go first. Rex, Toy Story.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Love Rex.
Vince, go next. If you take mine, I'll be mad, but I've got a good one.
Roz from Monsters, Inc.
Always watching. Yeah, that would be a good card.
That would be a good one. Brad almost took mine. Okay, here it is, Mr. Potato Head. But wait, it's not just Mr. Potato Head. There's a Mr. Potato Head card, and then there's the pieces to him, and they act as like sort of attachments to the card. It's a whole new mechanic.
It's a Yu-Gi-Oh thing, right? Isn't there a Yu-Gi-Oh piece that does that?
I know in Magic the Gathering, I know there's a way to attach. Yeah, Pokemon has them. I know there's a way to attach cards in Magic the Gathering. I think I don't know. I thought I was going to say enchantment, but I don't think that's right. But yeah, so it's Mr. Potato Head. He's like a blank Mr. Potato Head, and then you can play his attachments on him.
2/2, like one cost 2/2, and then
give him his eye, gives him like +1 and like his nose is Rush, right? Like
you thought this all out. So yeah. So for me, it's definitely Roz, and then I think second to that it would be Edna from The Incredibles.
Oh,
good one. Yeah,
she's definitely going to be one.
Oh,
I wonder what she does. She's going to be some kind of support or some kind of. She's going to be an inventor, and she's going to support the superheroes.
Darling.
Darling. Yes.
Yeah, I did realize we told Ryan the next one was going to cost money, but I did give him that Mr. Potato Head idea for free. So the third one costs. You got to come on the show to get that one. No more good ideas out of us.
I'll have to show
we're
you guys
giving money makers here.
I met Edna in one of the Disney races. I'll have to find the picture for you guys.
All right, next question.
The last one and the most important one, as she says herself, Rebecca Quest, as you guys all know from the casting of some of the DLCs. She was kind enough to ask a question today. She said, "Very important cue. What would be your go-to song for a Disney-themed karaoke night with Lorcana friends?" Everybody knows my answer. Andy, you go first.
Well, I believe that one, I would not have Lorcana friends after I did karaoke with them. So, this is a one-time shot for me. So I really only one opportunity here.
Mom spaghetti.
Yeah, exactly. And I actually had to brainstorm this with my wife. Almost like I'm actually going to have to do karaoke right now. Like this was eating away at me. And apparently both of the choices that I made, she says are not good. And I would fail miserably. So at first I said one jump ahead.
Okay,
but she was like, that's basically a rap song. You have to like speed through that. And I'm like, yeah, but there's no singing. It's just like talking really fast. I think it'd be fine.
I think you could do
the other one would be Friend Like Me, which she said is also the same thing, talking really fast and with a little more singing.
Robin Williams, that's what he does.
Exactly. So both I think great songs, and I would certainly disadvantage my friends by trying them out at a Lorcana karaoke night, but can't promise success.
By you, Vince.
So for me, there are two.
Yep.
And it's make way for Prince Ali. May say, hey, it's Prince Ali. My favorite part of that whole song is when Robin Williams is like, don't they look lovely, Jim?
I love the feathers. What's your second?
So my second is, which I think should be no surprise because always a guest star on this thing, is everybody wants to be a cat because a cat's the only cat who knows where it's at.
Yes.
Yeah.
Love me some O'Malley cat. So yeah, that's where
Fantastic.
I would go.
Ooh,
obviously, go ahead, Andy. Sorry.
I was gonna say that did just remind me of was it Oliver and Company, Billy Joel, and so basically every song from that, right? That's a Disney movie.
Yeah.
I would do that one.
I forgot Billy Joel did that. I don't know why.
It's so good.
You mean he didn't do it at the concert you guys went to last week?
No, I was really disappointed. That was
God.
my favorite song.
I wouldn't say known to because I do it privately, but in my car, like be prepared if I'm listening to it's Be Prepared. Obviously, we've talked about Scar this whole segment. I think is the greatest Disney song. If definitely the greatest villain song. It's just there's something about it. Me and Vince talked ahead of time before the podcast that the fact that Jeremy Irons did some of it, a little known fact, or maybe a wide known fact, but somebody here might not know. He didn't do the whole song. He had something happen to his throat, and Jim Cummings picked up the rest of it and took care of it. But fantastic song. Yeah, exactly. Ain't that wild thinking about Winnie the Pooh singing Be Prepared?
Mm-hmm.
But, Jeremy Irons is such an iconic voice.
Right.
So,
yeah, it's crazy. He's perfect for Scar. And the song itself is just so much fun to belt out. If I ever had the courage to sing it, not recording, not a chance, but like at a karaoke night or something.
You can't do it. It's really easy. Just dig deep, have confidence.
Yeah.
Be
I would. Yeah. I would put on a show. I would put on an absolute show for it. Andy picked up on my other one was Friend Like Me. I have so much fun singing that. It's just a blast to sing. Because he's being the genie and he's changing characters and doing all these different things and just miming that and mimicking it and having such a good time. They're two vastly different songs. One's dark and brooding, and the other one's hip and having a lot of fun. But I have such a blast singing both of those, and that's what I would do if we had a karaoke night. So nobody set that up in Seattle because I feel like we're setting ourselves up to do this now, and it's going to take a lot. It's going to take a lot.
This might have been bait. We might have been.
Yeah, it was Rebecca that suggested it. What does she know?
I think the real question for Vince though is which Disney song would you not sing at karaoke? Because I don't know that there are any.
I mean, I just embrace the fact that I'm really bad at singing, so I'm fine with it.
He wouldn't do Poor Unfortunate Souls for us the night that I thought we would. I promised everybody he would sing.
I know. One day, maybe.
It was on our Patreon. They just not everyone got to see it.
But anyway, if you have questions for the villains, please send us your questions by commenting on this video down below or tagging us on Twitter at Rules of Villainy, and we will answer them on our next
thank
episode.
you, everybody who answered the call today. This was so much fun and great to see everybody reach out and get some questions for us. I had fun answering them.
Yeah. Well, now we're going to move on to our main segment to talk about the set championships, how they're going, what we're going to play, what we think about how it's all going. So we'll start off. How'd it go, guys, this weekend? We talked a little bit about the top.
Yeah, we talked about my experience. Let's hear about yours.
Mucho no bueno for our Spanish-speaking listeners. Yeah, Vince got a card.
Vince is holding it up right now for the audio listeners. Yeah.
Yeah, Vince mooched on our free win from last set championships where we showed up and there was 8 people. This time we showed up, there was 8 people plus Vince and a bunch of other people.
Yeah, there were 15 people there.
Yeah.
Not as competitive as the event we streamed at Grapes, which had 36. So but I ended up in 5th place.
Yeah.
You only won 2 games, right? You had to win 2 games.
There were 4 rounds.
Yeah.
And so I won 2 games. So the first one was against your wife, who I won 2-0 mirror match. And then, which I felt bad because I feel like that really just made her hate that deck. And
what were you playing?
All day long. Ruby Amethyst. Okay. And she was playing Ruby Amethyst too. The next match was it was 2-1 against Ruby Sapphire. And that was just like, I just had my card draw was not great. And
you lost that one?
I did lose that one. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He's the one who went on to win the whole thing.
You went 2-1 then in the tournament. I thought you went 2-0 and then just drew 2 out. That was the unfortunate part about the event was that if you got 2 wins in a row, you drew out the last 2 rounds. And so the bubble was particularly brutal.
I went 2-1-1. I mean, the last one was against our friend Hunter, and I knew he was playing Green Steel, and I knew that that's a particularly brutal matchup against Ruby Amethyst. And he sat down at the table and he was like, "Hey, so I don't want to pressure you, and he was like, I'm not going to pressure you, but it's like, I think if we ID this, like we draw, you will get a Mirabelle. You'll be in top 8 and I will be in top 4, or we play it. And if you win, you'll be in top 4, or you lose, you'll fall out of top 8. And he would probably still have made top 8.
For sure.
And I was like, yeah, let's just draw. And also, I mean, keep in mind too, that event started at like 4, and it was late, like already like 9 o'clock at night. And I was like, I'm ready to be done. And stuff. And so, but him and I did play friendly. And as I expected, he like just wrecked me. Like, I mean,
he stomped me the round before.
I had no answer, and I was like, "Thank God we made the thank God he offered."
Yeah,
and I made that choice.
which is great.
Because otherwise, I would not have the Mirabelle today.
Yeah, I played him the round prior, and I did beat him while on the play, but he won the dice roll, so he was on the play twice, and both games that he was on the play, he had the turn 1 Diablo, saw my hand, I had the brawl to answer it, and his turn 2, he shifts the Diablo, plays a cove, moves the Diablo to the cove, and
So no brawl.
So no brawl. Brawl was offline. Next turn, Prince John, sing sudden chill. Next turn, probably sung 4 more sudden chills, played 3
Well, that's illegal.
hypnotizes. Like it was all downhill from there.
Yeah.
So 2 of Cove in the deck. Real
And you found
brutal.
it.
Yeah. Better lucky than good,
Hard.
right?
Hard mulligans, though.
Well, and they're already hard mulliganing for the Diablo though too.
Yeah.
So I know for a fact that he's not keeping the Cove in his hand. He's literally just looking for a 1-drop Diablo. So it's very, very unfortunate. And then I did get absolutely I shouldn't say I got absolutely stomped, but I did
I think
lose.
you should.
No, I lost to Blurple by literally a top deck goat. But I lost
You
to Blurple.
did what though? Okay.
I lost to Blurple.
3 times. Say it again. Say it again.
Yeah, one more time. Lost to Blurple. This Blurple player, a huge shout out. I
First
think
competition, I think, right?
Yeah. I think we shouted. We shouted out her sons, Aiden and Blake, as being really, really good, younger Lorcana players. Aiden was there, and so his mom came along, Lindsay, and she played a Blurple deck that I think she had said she hadn't really played it before. She normally plays a more aggro style deck, and piloted it perfectly. There was a couple times where she had asked my opinion on some of the moves she made, and I was like, I can't think of anything better. That was the perfect way to play it, and it was very close, but it taught me a hard lesson that Blurple does beat Ruby Amethyst pretty bad. There are just a few too many non-Medusa-able targets in that deck. It draws just as well as you because it has Amethyst and the best card in the game in Rabbit. And so she ended up actually playing 3 Ruby. She got a bye in round 1 and then played 3 Ruby Amethyst matchups in a row in that tournament. So great matchup spread for her. I think Ryan, the one who allowed us to open that French pack, played in the first round, and he was able to utilize the Flynn and Maui really, really well. I don't think there's anything in the Blurple deck that has higher strength than the Maui, so you basically leave that there and just hope they don't find the Elsa, the Rush evasive Elsa that exerts. And that was successful. I could not pull the same magic out, and so I think I finished 1-3, not well. So and then I played
better luck this week though, right? You're going you're playing in 2, right? You're playing.
Yep, I got 2 more total, 3 more total, 2 more. I got 2 this weekend and 1 then the following weekend. So I got 3 more shots here.
You'll get it.
Don't know what I'm gonna play still.
That's how I feel right now too. After playtesting tonight into his red blue, I tried my Blurple for 2 rounds. I tried my red Fossa for 2 rounds. Both of them terrible matchups to that. I wouldn't say Blurple is terrible. I gave him a run for his money on that one, but ultimately that end game red blue is just gonna take everything off your board. And then so I don't know. I had a good run with my Blurple. We talked about it a little bit at the beginning, so I'm not going to hang on it too much. But it just wasn't enough to make that top cut, and there's some tweaks that I'm thinking about making. Did you want to talk about Magica a little bit? Did you found some success with the playtesting with her? I've been thinking about throwing her in, but
I was gonna try and save those discussions for I don't want to spoil it, but for villain of the week, given that
Sure.
Magicka is sort of soul bound to a specific matchup. But
Yep.
One of our talking points here is what we plan on playing going forward. I'm super interested. I already know Brad's going to play something Fossa, probably. Insert something Fossa here. But going forward, I whatever it is that I'm going to play, I haven't figured it out yet, but it has to beat Emerald Steel. That's pretty apparent to me. What about you, Vince? I think you already told me before you're not going to play Ruby Amethyst anymore. You gotta.
I mean, so after our discussion today, I've rethought that again a little bit. Like the thing is,
I rebuilt my Ruby Amethyst.
Here's the thing I'll say about Ruby Amethyst is that sometimes it feels like it's going to fall out of the meta. And for some reason, you just find the right pieces to ultimately make it work. And it just doesn't go away. And so I'm not going to give up on it. But, I mean, the unique position I'm in is that, like, I've gotten the Mirabelle. I'm still playing in 2 more events because I'm running the game night one. So I won't be playing in it. But is that I'm more thinking about what I want to do in Seattle.
Yeah. And that's
so
it's the same thing you're gonna be doing in the set champs, essentially. I mean,
Yeah.
you could, take a break and have fun and play something interesting in the set champs, but you should essentially be using this for practice for Seattle, right?
So I am contemplating building a Emerald Steel to play, to practice, to
blink twice if you're under duress. Are you okay, Vince? Someone check his temperature.
Heather just lit up. Heather
Xana's
pointed at the
actually-
screen like Leonardo
Xana's in my
DiCaprio.
office. Xana's in my office and just like looking at me.
Threatening you to play Emerald Steel.
Like, I hear you don't like Emerald.
The Emerald Mafia has come for you, Vince. They've got you a prisoner.
But I've been harsh on it for a long time. Never been a huge Emerald player. So there are 2 decks I'm thinking about right now. Is one, I want to build Emerald Steel, not to really play in Seattle, but to understand that matchup better. And I think by playing it, you get a better. But a deck I am actually thinking about building and playing is Amethyst Emerald.
Okay. I like that.
It's not bad.
We saw Megan Saunders get into the top 8 at Grapes with that Lyle, Bonsai, all that stuff. She played it perfectly.
I think it
seems like a good deck.
Good deck, fun deck.
I think we watched it on stream, right? Wasn't that in one of our feature matches where it
was
absolutely dismantled that red blue?
To
be fair, I think that's what she lost to in Top Cut was red blue.
She lost.
To be fair, she lost to Justin Ward.
Yeah.
Sure, but Justin also lost to Hunter, and I mean, boo Hunter. So, we can.
I thought we were going to go the whole podcast without booing him.
Any
I'm not
given
booing him.
matchup, all right?
Andy
Any
will
given
boo
matchup.
him, and I'll be Hunter's defender.
Yeah. Hunter knows
we love him. Yeah,
I know.
Right, but it just any given matchup. But it for me it was very interesting to see that I thought Emerald Amethyst just slaughters red blue, and we watched it on stream, and it did. And I know the player she was playing against, Jesse, and he's a really good player as well. Yeah. So the idea that it was just Justin that that's really that good. So clearly has I shouldn't have put that. I didn't mean that you meant that, but there has it seems like it may be a little more of a coin flip than I shouldn't say coin flip either, but it seems like it could be a closer matchup than I originally had thought, which definitely scares me for if I was the Emerald Amethyst player, because if I don't know much about Emerald Amethyst, but I would expect it to stomp that matchup. It's supposed to be quick.
To be fair, we didn't see that match, so I can't really.
We don't know what happened.
Also,
exactly we did see Megan get more bonsais than potentially were legally allowed in between those 2 matches. A lot of bonsais.
Well, that's like the one matchup we commented on where there's like, I swear there were like
Ariel.
a dozen Ariels in that
Tim's
deck.
game. Tim was top decking Ariels like nobody's. He was pulling them out of his sleeve or something. There was
just
so
to be
many
clear,
of them.
just to be not that it would have mattered though, but I do want to say that I did rewatch that, and I think
Yeah, we
Brad
missed
pointed
it.
it out that he like moved that sneaky Cinderella up and quested.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
think he
think that
sang
was
with. I think he
intentional in
sang
any
with.
way, shape, or
It
form.
didn't matter at that point.
Yeah,
Of the game,
it wouldn't have
didn't
mattered. It
matter.
wouldn't have
She was
mattered.
Not dry, and I was like, Tim,
Dude.
you know better.
We saw a similar thing in another matchup too, right, Vince? Where there was a Medusa, I think, that they banished, but it should have still been alive. And
That was Alec. Yeah.
ultimately, we were like, that didn't.
It wouldn't
change
have
that.
mattered.
Yeah,
It wouldn't have mattered. I mean, it would have had another character.
Maybe we could have,
I think it was
ran
the
out
same
there.
game. It was the same game.
Maybe, yeah.
No, I don't
Yeah,
think.
'cause
Or maybe it was.
Alec. It was Alec and Tim that were streamed. Yeah.
Oh,
Not that we're
maybe it
calling
was.
you guys out. We're just talking about what game it was. But
Yeah. I joke.
Yeah.
But any other last thoughts before we move on to the villain of the week?
No, I think
No?
I'm good.
All right. Now, the villain of the week. Brad?
Apologies to Gantu, and I hope there's a seat open at the Galactic Council chamber because this week Zan Saeed will be joining him with his Emerald Steel deck that has run rampant since DLC Vegas.
What
What do you guys think about it?
Emerald Steel. Wait, I thought this was villain of the week, Brad.
No,
Emerald
we
Steel?
have 61 villains of the week this week. It is 60
Wait.
cards and Zan Saeed.
Okay, I was gonna say you're not telling me Zan was running 61 cards, are you? That'd break my
I don't
heart.
actually know. I should probably take a look. I'm sure it was 60.
No, it's
And
only got 60 cards. I was confused as where Brad was going, so I quickly clicked the link in our show notes. I was like, wait, did I misread that? Did it say 61
What
cards?
was the 61st card?
It was like, what is that?
Most importantly, why he's villain of the week is he left the mayor of Lorcana on red when I asked him if he'd like to join us for an interview.
I'm sure you asked him like 4 minutes after he won the DLC too. I'm sure he was flooded with invites. And to be fair,
yeah, and I mean,
Zan is a great guy.
this is
I'm sure
all in
we've all
jest.
seen him on the DLCs. But what he has done to all of us by creating such a villainous deck here is unfortunately very, very villain worthy. So
Yeah. I want to be very clear. I'm saying all this in jest. I did reach out. I didn't expect anything, and I never do. But this
He's
deck
not.
is.
Brad's being very serious. This is a serious face.
he's
I'm
mad.
never serious.
He told me he hopes he gets matched up against Zan every single round in Seattle, and that because he's going to 2-0 him with his Blurple deck.
That'd be nice. Hey, you saw me in Grapes. Grapes, I did pull a draw. I do think I could have got the 2-0 in that feature match, but no. Regardless, let's talk about the deck. We've talked about it quite a bit through this podcast and a little bit last week with Prince John being the villain of the week. What can we do
before that, and Diablo
yeah.
before that?
We've never talked about Diablo.
you know.
Diablo hasn't been a villain, but he's been on the cusp of it. I'm pretty sure he hasn't.
I don't
He's
think
also-
Diablo's been a villain of the week yet.
Let us
This
know in the
entire
comments.
deck, he is
are
this
paying
week
attention to
because
our
he's
own
part of this
show.
deck, right? so
Yeah.
what do we do about this?
This list is the bane of my existence, and honestly, looking at the list from the perspective of, okay, a deck does good, I take a look at it, of course I want to tinker with it. How can I add my own spice to it? What are they missing? What do I disagree with? Right? Zan's good, but he's not that good. I've got better cards for this list.
He is.
He is, exactly.
Yeah.
This list is clean. It is pristine. I'm very happy with the list. I'm worried that Cove might get upped to 4 because of the brawl situation. But really, the list is great, and I have just been trying my hardest to see if there's a way to sort of beat this, and it's not looking great. I can say that much. I think we talked about it earlier. I've been testing Magicka. A couple of our teammates brought it up. I kind of was like, yeah, it's a little slow, right? Because you still got Diablo. That's a problem. So you kind of have to answer Diablo. And the Magicka stops the Prince John and the discard and stuff, but you've already got 4 turns of discard going. And
you're playing Blurple. You get Magicka out
Blurple,
on 3.
Right, I agree. Blurple seems like a much better option. You really want to ramp on 2 in any Sapphire deck, really. So Magicka on 4 or with 4 costs
3.
being on 3 is much better because it comes down right after or right before Prince John. But I think it might be able to work. I actually did some testing right before the podcast here with my wife. She was playing Green Steel. The first match, her hand bricked pretty bad, and I won. So there is, like Brad said, hey, if their hand bricks, you still win, right? Like maybe there's a chance their cards aren't great, right? So that strategy still works. And then I was actually disappointed because I had the Magicka in hand too. I was able to find it, and then I'm running, I think, 3 of them, so it's a little unideal for other
Ruby Amethyst.
Yeah, and Ruby Amethyst. So, but the second game I was on the draw, and I had the Magicka, and I was able to play the Magicka and stop the discard, and I ended up losing the match, but I think I made a key mistake, essentially getting greedy and turning the Magicka sideways, and they were able to take it out. And if I hadn't done that, I potentially would have won
and the
game.
Magicka, remind me, its willpower is
5
or 5.
It's a 2/5.
It's a 2/5.
Okay.
Right. So it
can survive quite a few of the songs that
Yep.
Steel runs and can sing with Deceiver.
It doesn't look like Zan's deck is running Zeus either, so it's just not going to get one shot by Along Came Zeus.
They don't have great Zeus singers in that deck.
That's also true.
So one thing I did have to do in this Ruby Amethyst list, which I think is somewhat imperative, is you have to go back to that Bucky strategy where you essentially have to give up the first 2 turns of your game. You have to say, I'm going to ink and pass. Because if they do, especially if they're on the play and they have the discard, or even if they just have the Diablo, you really, really cannot be giving them any cards at all. So you still need to find the Brawl, and you need to hope they don't have the Cove. Or you need to, and you need to find the Magicka. Sorry. One other card I have been testing as well. I think Justin is actually, I saw him talking about this and stole the idea from him. The Candy Lady. I don't know.
Snowana,
Red
or whatever.
No,
Roster Glitch or something.
Roster Racer.
Yeah.
I think it's a taffeta mutton.
It's still Vanellope.
Is it Vanellope? Okay.
Yeah, she comes in with Rush and Evasive to the rest for the full turn.
Yeah, until your start of your next turn. So it's a 4-cost uninkable 3/3 with 2 lore, Rush, and when you play this character, it gains Evasive until the start of your next turn. So it is also an option to take out Diablo.
Yeah.
I was kind of tinkering with that and the Elsa, but it's still just such an uphill battle because you, like I said, you have to brawl or answer Diablo on as soon as possible. I found myself not recycling Chernobogs, not drawing the card off it. I can't draw off of the Maleficent. I put Maleficent Sorceress back in there.
Wow. Spessy loves that.
So it's just, you have to basically do nothing until you have those answers. And if you don't have those answers, obviously you can only do nothing for so long.
Yeah, the problem I have with some of these tech cards is like, it feels like it makes maybe with the exception of the Magicka, which granted doesn't work in other matches, but we've talked a lot about sometimes having these one-off tech pieces, is that it feels like it makes the deck marketably worse against other matchups. Because I definitely would rather have a 1-drop in matchups. Like
I played 4. I went back to the
that seems
4 1-drops.
that seems not ideal. And basically any other matchup.
So you are very much playing the answer game in essentially all of your other matchups now, because you lose your ability, like you said, to be and sort of an extreme aggressor. I don't know how to beat the red-blue matchup. You essentially still hope they don't have a dime. There are still some Flynns, and the Sisu and the Castle line does still exist in there. You really have to just sort of use that Ruby Amethyst magic of just constantly being able to continually refill your hand. The Magicka is ink in other matchups.
Yep.
The Vanellope is not ink, but with Rush 3/3 and 2 lore, I think the card is pretty valuable, and I've gotten the Ruby Amethyst deck down to essentially like 10 core uninkables, the 4 rabbits, 3 B preps, 1 Sisu, 1 Scar I've been trying to run as well.
Medusa?
Well, and the Medusas, right. So I think it's 3 Medusas, maybe. And then, I think I'd sacrificed one of those Medusas, and I went up 1 more uninkable by putting in 2 of those Vanellopes. It's still very much in testing. Same with the red-blue as well. I'm testing that roster racer card in red-blue as well, and I think it has some. In red-blue, it's great, right? You ramp on 2, it fits in perfectly there. I hate the fact that it's uninkable, but really, Emerald Steel needs to be answered, because, like you say, Vince, it makes the deck marketably worse to the rest of them. But like, I'm kind of banking that like 80% of the meta is going to be Emerald Steel, and if I have to play that deck every single time, like, you really have to be teched for it.
Yeah, well, I think the thing is, it's a really oppressive deck, right? And I actually think we've hinted on this a little bit, but maybe a hot take, maybe not a hot take. But I am thoroughly convinced after seeing it in action this weekend and what we saw in Vegas and even in Europe is that Emerald Steel is actually better now that Bucky isn't in the meta, because the way the deck is constructed now gives Emerald Steel not only a pretty effective discard engine, it also gives them a very effective draw engine. Whereas when they just had the discard piece, they would run out of steam. And so it was still an oppressive deck because you had no cards, and they were just at a higher like a lore variation, right? So it's still oppressive, but it was oppressive in a different way. In this instance, it's like you have no cards, and they have a whole freaking buttload of cards in their hand to play, and that is worse.
And what's
like
different
every
too? Yeah. What's different from the Bucky deck that you mentioned is that now that the big singer Ursula's back for all those songs that they weren't running in the. I don't know what the Bucky deck actually. I don't remember what it entirely looked like, but that was That was all Floodborn, just Floodborn discard quest. And now that big Ursula's back, she comes out. She's got strength. She's got Let the Storm Rage On. She's got whatever just to destroy you. Like, you don't need a Long Came Zeus when she can hit you with 4 damage just by singing it twice and drawing 2 cards from it. So
the big Ursula was just like they needed 4 more cards, and there weren't good Floodborn, so they just threw the best card in with that Ursula. But now, like, the Ursula becomes even more of a must answer. Like, when I was playing as the Bucky deck and they played big Ursula, I was like, thank you. Like, this is great. Now when they play it, I'm like, no, this is terrible. So, like,
it's right, because immediately the next time they're going to use that to sing and discard cards, right? And
they have 3 songs for that. That's it. Storm, Strength, and Sudden Chill. And any of those twice sucks. Any of them once sucks, but twice is just brutal.
And especially because
PJ.
Right, Prince John and Storm lets you draw cards.
Yep.
So two of those abilities, they are drawing 2 cards. 2 of the songs that Ursula could sing, they're drawing 2 cards.
And
then it's
Storm
Hypnotize.
or Sudden Chill with the Prince John. But I mean, we've had this discussion in our team chat, and I say, well, they've got, with Prince John, they draw 2 cards. Well, they don't always have the Prince John. They always have the Prince John. Okay, you have to assume they always have this stuff. It's like blackjack, right? They've always got a 10 under the.
But here's the thing: it's like you look at it, and it's like, right. So the ideal, like, turn 1 Diablo, turn 2
Ursula,
discard action, shift Diablo, play Cove, exert,
That's
move.
So they have 3 options there, and it depends on them seeing your hand. So did they see the brawl? Cove, done.
Yeah.
Did they not see the brawl and no threat to your Diablo? That's fine. Let's play Morph to set up for the turn 2.
Turn 2,
3 Beast.
Did they see your threat answer, like maybe a Storm Rage on or something like that, or a Strength? Ursula. Boom, remove it from your hand. So they have 3 incredibly powerful options on turn 2, and then turn 3, PJ comes down. They sing Sudden Chill with whatever 2-drop that was there. They have 2 of them. They sing another Sudden Chill with the Diablo that they have down. Or typically you've played something to the board that you're hoping can help you, come back. And they use the Diablo to sing Storm or Strength, take it out, and it just I'm about to scoop just thinking about it. This
Scoop this podcast.
I mean, it's like I was just toying. We were talking about it in the chat, especially from like the Ruby Amethyst. But I mean, even when we think about it from like say Ruby Sapphire, which is a deck that we've seen still have success, pretty strong success in the meta, is what are the tech options, right? And so we've talked about this Vanellope. The other answers we've talked a little about, like, none of them are ideal, but you've got things like, the Vitalosphere plus, another option. You've got
an evasive for that, right?
You've got
So
a
it's
Ruby
like a Pegasus.
Chromacon or right, exactly. So you're still then at that 4. Well, actually, you'd be at 4. In order to play that, because if you played Vitalosphere on 1,
but it's a turn 3 Ruby Sapphire, right? Because you have 4 ink and stuff, right? So, but you need the evasive still. The Vitalosphere doesn't give you that; it's just a rush,
right? Or you've got the Peter Pan.
The 2/3 Amethyst Rush.
Yeah,
evasive. I've also seen one of our teammates has been tinkering with the Ana, the 3-drop uninkable Amethyst Ana, that when you play it, your opponent chooses and exerts an unexerted or a readied character. So, if you think about it, they play the Diablo, they have a turn 2, they play the Prince John, and if they've got the other 2 exerted, you play the Ana. I'm not really convinced because of that other one, right? Diablo's always exerted. That's the main idea behind it, is that Diablo's always exerted. So if PJ and Diablo are there, they're going to have to exert the PJ and you can take it out. But I'm not entirely convinced.
That feels
they're going to have something else. They're going to have that more
as like a Tremaine, on board, or like a B King.
Yep. It's the same exact concept, or a the mayor's favorite card, Triton's Decree. But it is kind of hopium, I guess. You're hoping that's the card that it's gonna have to target. But I do worry about that 2-drop, the Morph, the Ursula.
We talked about it right now, and we kind of alluded this earlier about removal, but it's like what we really need is a good 2-drop rush evasive character in the game.
That would be nice. And or like I I mean, I'm all on board with the like human Sisu and the brawl and the big Sisu, like based on strength. I think someone brought up about removal based on willpower, which I immediately was like, well, that's just damage, isn't it? But it actually isn't, because damage lasts from turn to turn and stuff like that, as opposed to just sort of straight removal. But I definitely think we could benefit from some more of these creative tools to get rid of Diablo.
Yeah, it's just it is really an oppressive deck, and it's hard to. And I don't have the. I mean, I don't think we have the answer yet, right? I think we're gonna have to wait and see what people think and do, and what we do in our own testing.
So, do you think a cheaper Magicka would be an option? Like if they had like a 1/1 that had the same ability as Magicka, but it was like 2 costs or 3 costs or something like that, maybe that would be viable. Or I would.
I just feel like it would be such a target for removal from them. Like, right, like they've got strength and storm, and it's like it's just I don't, that's why I was asking. Is like I didn't quite know off the top of my head what the
willpower was
for the Magicka that exists, and while it comes down maybe a turn late, it's still, I think,
not bad
because it's probably going to stick on the board for a little while.
Its weakness is the muses, because the muses bounce 2 strength or less, and it's a 2/5. So that's its weakness, which technically they can
trigger until after the discard action, though, right? So,
but so they can play PJ on 3, and then you can play Magicka on 4, and then on turn 4, they can play the muses, and now presumably they have 2 characters still at least on board, because you got rid of their Diablo, but you still have that pesky 2-drop, the Ursula or the Morph or whatever it was, and the PJ, so they can sing both PJ and Ursula. So the first one they can sing to do 2 damage to, I don't know, your Chernobyls or whatever else you got on the board, and then they bounce your Magicka with that first one, then they hit you with the discard on that. Granted, that's a lot of cards they need to have in their hand, which it's Emerald Steel, so they might have that many, but it's not a foolproof plan, but it may be the best that we have. Or hey, you guys got any spare sad beasts I can borrow? Maybe I'll just run Emerald Steel myself. Like, how many extra Diablos you guys got? Like, I'll just maybe you just join them, right? Can't beat them, join them.
No,
yeah, but I think the mirror is probably the most unfun match. That has to be the most.
That was
did we broadcast that?
We did. That was Kirsten and Kristen's match, and the one complaint that they had about streaming and casting was that it was over too darn quick, because both of the green steel players in this top cut match were very skilled players, so they knew what they were doing. And we saw one really, really good game, and then we saw 2 relatively quick scoops, because, as Vince says, that matchup is miserable, and I don't blame either of those players for not wanting to play the game any further. I mean, it was like turn 6 or 7, and I mean, they had no board, they had no hand, and they were just like, okay, next. And then a similar thing happened, and it was like, it's funny because our guest casters were like, what? I thought we were getting 3 matches here, not just 2 scoops and an actual match. But that's just the way it is sometimes. When it's over, right?
Yeah. So that's the downside to playing into it by just joining, right? Is that a lot of people will have that, and so then you're just slogging it out.
Yeah. I feel like
it's not fun.
I feel like, though, that the Emerald Steel like mirror matches, couldn't we just like simulate those, like when you play like FIFA or Madden, right? You just like, you don't want to play this game, so you just click simulate, and it's like, hey, you won, like that's probably what I would want to do on those games.
I mean, I apologize to listeners. This episode's probably going to be a little bit longer because we're chatting about Emerald Steel here, but hopefully you want to hear all this. Is
need to hear all this, honestly.
Yeah, is there another deck though? So we've talked about Ruby Amethyst, we've talked about Ruby Sapphire. Could a deck like Emerald Amethyst or Emerald Amber?
I mean, well, first off, wait, Emerald Amber, I don't think so. I've tested that one against our teammate Reckless, Villain Ron, and the steel removal. I mean, the steel is just marketably better than what Amber brings to the table. Amber has a little bit more discard. So the game he did get on me in our best of 3, you have forgotten. I had forgotten him. I discarded my whole hand from that.
That card's brutal.
But he was upset because I'm just top decking storms and strengths and just taking out all of his threats. And I'm like, that's all that's in my deck, mate. Like, well, it's removal, or it's the exact same cards you have plus removal, So the one, I think, upside to the Amber Emerald is the Under the Sea. It has a board wipe. I'm a huge fan of a board wipe. That's one of the reasons I love Ruby based decks, is because I'm a bad player, and having that crutch of be prepared is just nice. I don't know. Blurple, maybe. Brad, maybe you can do it. Blurple could beat Emerald Steel, but
I think it can. It's but like we said, it's the variables, right? Like I had my first games, and again, it's a very small sample size where I 1-1. I feel like I could have 2-0'd. Then 2 games later, in round 3, I got my engine going and started going, and then suddenly, he hit everything he needed to just discard me down and stop me. So I got 0-2'd there, and that's ultimately what kept me out of the top cut. So I practiced a little bit more Monday night with Blurple, and actually no, I think I just did Red Fossa all night Monday night last night, and so that's non-starter. We're not that did not go well.
How's Red Fossa into Emerald Steel?
I took 2 of the 5 games that we played. So like we did a 2. I'm pretty sure he told me he took both of the firsts. I instantly forgot because I played Steel Song, and then I told you about it earlier, and then I played some Amethyst Steel. But we played 2 games when I got there, and I thought we split, which I felt good about. And then I played 2 other players, and I came back. He was still around, so I was like, hey, I need some more practice against that deck because I'm pretty sure I'm playing Red Fossa this upcoming weekend. And then we did a best of 3, and I won on the play. He won the dice roll. He won the first game. I won on the play. And then on the third game, I think I already forget the details, but I feel like I made it kind of competitive for a little bit. And then ultimately just, that deck has no draw if you miss everything, especially if you don't have cards, right? Yeah. So it's like, I'm not confident in running that. I got to pray for the good matchup variants, right?
All right. So spicy question.
Yeah.
Emerald Ruby.
The Specie Special.
Specie Special.
The Christmas deck.
I don't know much about it.
It has the same pitfalls that Ruby Amethyst has, with just worse draw package, in my opinion. I think maybe there's an argument to be had for aggro, but at the same time, steel. It's Emerald Steel, so like Lilo's Maleficence, worthless. Even the 3-bodied ones like Blues and the Donald Duck Bodyguard, just a Strength of the Raging Fire very easily takes those out. Daisy Duck, better, but like I think we've all learned that giving your opponents cards off Daisy Duck is not ideal. And when Green Steel, just every card is so valuable to them, I can't imagine giving them to them. I did play a couple matchups where I tried to cheese my wife with Amber Amethyst and also Amber Steel, both like the aggro as they can be options. It didn't work. It seemed like it was about to work, and then it didn't work. So
yeah,
it is. I haven't found the deck to beat it. Ruby Sapphire or Ruby Amethyst may be our only hope, but it's not looking great.
I mean, our final match, we saw Justin just get wrecked with Ruby Sapphire with the Emerald. And I mean, that was just, and he's a good player. That's a good deck. And, it's just too oppressive.
Yep.
Yeah. And I mean, that is 2 matches, right? Out of the millions that are played probably every day or whatever. And I didn't get a great chance to sit down and talk with Justin about what happened in that match, sort of specifically.
It was a late night.
It was a late night. So, but I was very eager to see that matchup because we had Justin on here, and he specifically talked about how he felt red blue should be able to beat green steel, but I don't know what that special sauce is. And it may just come down to, better lucky than good. Right.
So here's a question I have for you. What about, so we've talked about Peter Pan. We've talked about Magicka, Vitalosphere, Ruby Chromacon. What about Amethyst Chromacon for draw?
It's because it gives them a card, though.
Yeah, but I mean,
they already have enough cards. Yeah, I don't give them any more.
A lot of cards.
Yeah. The Amethyst Chromacon is only good in hyper aggro as like a desperation draw, because
that's what I'm saying. Like, maybe it's desperation if you're in a play.
I don't know. Well, for one, if they have the Diablo, the Amethyst Chromacon is your death sentence for sure. Because if you're pulling up 2, I mean, for every Amethyst Chromacon would draw them 2 and you 1 with them having a Diablo, right? So that
I'm not saying. Here's the thing: I think we've all come to the conclusion that none of these are ideal. But I'm saying, like, if you are in a situation where you have no cards, right? Because they've discarded all your cards. We know that they don't have item removal, and they're not. We're not running any item removal. So
being able to draw items, to a turn.
So being able to draw to a turn. And they're gonna get to draw, but they've already are able to draw a shit ton of cards anyway. What's another?
I don't know.
What's another card to them really gonna matter?
Yeah, I think the only way that works is you basically, the strategy there would be you almost decision paralysis them. If they have it, so having, let's say, 10 cards in your hand, you have all of the answers to everything in my deck, right? If you have 20 cards in your hand, you still have all of the answers. You didn't really get anywhere more profoundly better. You just have more of the same answers. So, maybe if it means that you can draw cards that they can't efficiently answer, but I mean, man, you're really
living on the edge.
It's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Maybe you might be making progress, but
all right, I got it. I got the answer for Ruby Amethyst players. 4 spell books.
Yeah, of course.
All right. I knew it was coming. That concludes this episode of the rules.
Thank you for joining us. I do have one. I do have one thing, and I'm not caught up in the chat. And as I was perusing, I was looking at some 2-drop, rush evasive keywords and whatever, see what I could come up. What about the 1-drop Cogsworth and Cruella? It had to be Blurple, but the evasive Cruella on turn 3 for if she hits for 3, that would take out a Diablo in Cove.
So, but why would you? I mean, other than the uninkable factor, why would you not just take Peter Pan and Blurple?
Oh, I don't know. I just saw these 2 cards. I'm like, hey, there you go. You can give Cruella. I mean, she trades with it, but
Jimmy, our teammate Jimmy was playing Ruby Steel of all lists.
That's a fun matchup to watch. Oh my God.
If you tuned into our stream, that is a great matchup to watch. I assure you, there's no other YouTube channel out there that has as riveting of Ruby Steel content as we do. But Jimmy came up to me, and in secrecy at this tournament, he was very quiet about it. He didn't want anyone getting in on his secret tech. He said, I believe it's Happy. Happy is a silver
One top evasive. Yeah.
knight. No, evasive on your turn.
Yeah.
And he was like, I put that Happy in there, and they're not going to read the card, and they don't know what it does, and they're going to exert their Diablo, and I'm going to get to take them out because I was evasive on my turn. So he was basically just trying to, pull a fast one off on him. But one of our teammates did bring that up, the Cogsworth, and it's not a bad option, but it's just a 2-card option. I really want to find a 1-card option. It's the same concept as Ice Block Human Sisu, Ice Block Brawl, Ice Block any of them, right? Like a 2-card combo is less efficient, harder to hit.
Right, but as though it has been said, that combo you're trying to answer is also a 2-card combo. So it's not exactly.
But see, it's not exactly 2-card combo, right? Because the drop for Diablo to shift him is any action. So the likelihood of them hitting that 2-card combo is much, much higher. Right? Because they only need Storm, Strength. Their Diablo shift is a 2-card combo.
Arguably,
right?
Though, is that a 2-card combo or a 3-card combo? Because they're talking about them discarding, having Diablo, having Diablo, having Shift Diablo, having a discard option, and then having Cove.
Right. So they hard mulligan for 1-drop Diablo because they only have 4 of them. The Cove is a different. That's one of the 3 things they could have. They only have and need the Cove when they're Hunter and they're playing against me, and then they always have it. Boo Hunter. But they hard mulligan for that Diablo. I have no idea how they always seem to have this sort of combo, but they really only need small Diablo, big Diablo, right? Because they can almost guarantee that they're going to have Bruno, Storm, Strength, or Sudden Chill, or Hypnotize. All of them can be dropped for the Diablo, and they know they're going to get them back anyway. Diablo costs 2 cards because you can't really cost the 1 card that it shifts onto, because it does still get a great value out of being able to see your hand and getting that hand knowledge. But the Diablo is going to get 1 card back guaranteed, and you really need to answer at that turn, because if you do, then they're at a net negative 1 card. They played Diablo and they dropped 1, and then they drew 1 back for that Diablo on your turn. As soon as it hits 2 turns, now they've made their money back, right? They've got their ROI. They've got their return on investment on that Diablo. And at that point, they're now playing a Prince John, and they're starting to really rake in the cards, and you're hurting. So you need to effectively answer Diablo as soon as possible. And
so you need to answer it on turn 2.
Turn 3, hopefully you're on the play. Or again, if you let them get 1, if they get 2 draws off of it, if you're on the draw and you answer it on turn 3, so on turn 2 they play it, your turn 2 they draw, their turn 3, your turn 3, you can answer it. But then they're net neutral at that point. They're neutral, right?
My whole thing is like answering this question though of these tech cards isn't so much about the play line of answering just Diablo. It's answering Diablo as though he is in Cove.
Right. In which case
Brawl answers Diablo on 3.
Right. And I mean, you have to have a brawl, but you're right. The next step beyond answering Diablo is answering Diablo in Cove, which Brawl doesn't do.
Right.
Which none of the answers I think we really talked about do, right? Cogsworth and the evasive
Cruella
don't either. That's a 2/3, right?
No, Cruella's 3/2.
3/2? Okay, it's the other way around. It's the broom that's a 2/3, right?
The Magicka's goal is to answer basically Prince John. Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Magicka does the exact same thing as Prince John, just without the ward. They leave their Prince John completely unexerted so that they can get this non-interactive ability off of it. Then we do the same thing with Magicka and just say, well, we're just not to discard.
You know what we need? The solution here. We find Ryan and Steve in Seattle, we asked them to write Ward on Magic Card.
On a Magic card.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's
We're
do
like,
it.
hey,
That doesn't solve it though. Like
Ward.
Hey, it's written on there by the creators. I think that we get a pass.
Can you just be like, can you sign my Magic card for me? Just right here, write Ward. That's my name. Just like, Ward.
To Ward.
And then down at the bottom, you can like sign your name over here, or whatever. So, that would be too good.
No,
An
I'm just
altered
like
card. That's probably
that's
not
right
allowed.
because it doesn't. I mean, it doesn't answer that the question overall, but the problem here. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think this goes back to the question that Megan asked at the beginning of Constituents Corner. Right? Is this like
Nerf PJ?
We're talking about this whole thing is that Diablo can be answered, right? It can even be answered in Cove. And yes, it has good positive value for an Emerald player. But in my mind, it's just like an Emerald version. It functions a little bit differently than, say, like an Amethyst Rabbit, right? Which gives you a draw engine and being able to do the bounce shenanigans to be able to get more cards in hand. The problem is that once they get Prince John online and then they run their discard package, basically for every card you discard, they now draw cards and you are now at a significant
2-card turn.
Right.
Yeah, it's a 2-card flip there because you lose one and they gain one.
Right. And so you end up well at a card disadvantage and they end up way at a card advantage. And then they can press that advantage then by laying down characters on the board and you then have no answers, right? It's like, I think we saw that in those match. Now, granted, is it Jesse that was in the final against Justin? Was that? No.
The final was Nick.
Nick versus Justin.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Nick versus Justin. As we saw, right, is that Nick was able to get his whole kind of lineup ready. And like Justin just could not get enough ink to get the answers that he had. And when he would get those answers, whether it be prepared, it's like instantly Nick was just like, I'm going to rip that, out of your hand. Gone. Bye. And not only am I going to rip it out of your hand, I'm going to draw a card after ripping it out of your hand.
Oh, what do you know? It's another sudden chill. Hope you don't get another card in your hand.
Right. So it's just one of those things. It's like the Prince John having that ward makes the deck incredibly oppressive because they can not only discard you, there's no disadvantage for them as a player because they're gaining cards at every turn.
Yep. Yeah. And I think I said it sort of at the beginning here. This list is so well put together to just have, like we talked about, the 1-drop is set. You hard mulligan for that. And then these varying lines to start on for 2, and then the consistent line to try and hit on 3. And then just once you get your card draw coming in, every single card has great value in what's going on. And if it doesn't, then you've already won. If you're drawing cards, if you're a green steel player and you have cards in your hand like Storm and Strength and Sudden Chill and Hypnotize, and you can't use them because the opponent has no board, because the opponent has no hand, you've won the game, right? Like it's over at that point. And so your cards just have great value for so long, which really I think just tells to the reason why this whole deck is the villain of the week this week. It's just, I've been racking my brain and spending way too much time during the workday chatting with my teammates, trying to figure out how to solve this. And so I don't have a good answer.
So do we errata the whole deck? Do we ban it?
Yep. See ya.
Banned.
Whole deck banned. Zan gone from competitive play. No, I'm just kidding.
No,
we love you, Zan. Please come on the podcast.
Please do.
How about this? I would love to have Zan on the podcast and have him tell us how to beat his deck. just like you brought this glorious list into the world. Just take it behind the corn crib and show us how to beat it, and then change the meta again in such another huge swing. That would be crazy.
What's crazy is what I remember, just I don't need to go into it. Sorry.
No, you're good.
I laughed at Emerald Steel when I saw it going in these DLCs before I saw it in action. I was like, he's still on Emerald Steel.
There was one Saturday morning where I turned on YouTube and he was tinkering with this deck, probably early Ursula's Return. And so he's been on it a while and he's put that much work into it. And you see him perform like he did last week or 2 weeks ago, I guess now at this point. And it's just absolutely incredible. You see, you get what you put into it, right? And I just think about that morning at like 5 a.m. I'm randomly awake and watching him play this on Tabletop Simulator, and was like, wow, that's look where he's at now.
Yeah. Playing on what? On what?
On TTS.
What?
Nothing.
Webcam games.
Yeah. Physical cards only. Buy the game, folks.
Connect.
All right. Well, if you've enjoyed this episode, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. We're also on YouTube, so please be sure to like and subscribe and hit that bell icon to be notified of our next episode. Until next week, stay safe, fellow villains. Be wary of wannabe heroes who want to disrupt your villainous plans. And as always, remember the rules of villainy.